Hello, I'm Angela Aurora Medway-Smith. Welcome to the 2026 series Bitesize Business Basics. We have 6 sessions of short, succinct presentations from experts who will help you up-level your business. I hope you enjoy them. Good morning and welcome to another episode of Bitesize Business Basics. I'm Angela Aurora Medway-Smith and I am delighted to invite you to Kirsty Knott. Kirsty's a mindset and accountability coach who works with ambitious women who are tired of getting in their own way. She helps them cut through self-doubt, ditch overthinking, and actually take action on things that matter using her practical, no-nonsense run framework built around reality checking your thoughts, breaking things down, and building real consistency. And when she's not coaching, she hosts the Unstackable podcast with her husband, Anne. So welcome, Kirsty. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing your wisdom with us. I can't wait for my authors and community to hear all about the way you work and how you can support them. So so welcome. The stage is yours, my darling.
Fabulous. Thank you very much for having us, Angela. And I can't wait to take you through this bite-sized workshop. So the workshop today is all about expanding your mindset. I'm going to take you through the simple framework that I use with my clients to get you unstuck and get you moving. When you're in that place and you start blooming procrastinating like mad and you can't get anything done, I want you to think about running, okay? So to start off, if you go online and you do a bit of research and if you Google what is it that what are the key traits of successful entrepreneurs, some of the main things that come up are resilience and grit. Okay, so having the ability to bounce back quickly, to pivot when we need to, and just to persevere through challenges, right? And I'm pretty sure we've probably all been through some of that. The second one is risk tolerance. So being able to take calculated risks. So starting a business in itself is a calculated risk, right? So we've all been there, we've all done that. Having the adaptability, so being able to adapt to changing markets. I think probably AI is one of the big ones at the minute. Being able to adapt and work with that in the right way and use it for good, I think is definitely a key part there. And the last one of the other ones is self-efficacy and confidence. This is about having the unwavering belief in yourself and your skills to actually be an entrepreneur. So you believe that you actually have what it takes to do the things that an entrepreneur would do. But the key bit is nowhere does it say to be an entrepreneur, to be a successful entrepreneur, you need to be able to write an email. You need to be able to post a video, right? But that is the stuff that we often get very caught up in. The spiral of learning, I need to know more, I need to understand more, I can't do it, I need to wait. It's all that sort of stuff. But actually, what we're doing in that is we're wasting a lot of time, because what it is to be a successful entrepreneur is to actually do it, is to actually be the person doing the thing. So today I'm going to take you through my simple 3-step framework of how to run when things get tough. And this is going to help you build these key traits of a successful entrepreneur. So quickly before we get into it, I just want to explain a little bit about who I am and why Run is the framework that I use with my clients. So I, like probably a lot of people, spent a life in a career that I quite frankly hated. And it was because I didn't actually know who I was and what I wanted. And I used to allow that negative self-doubt voice to just creep in all of the time. Um, I built a really good career. It worked. But when I stopped to think about who I actually was and what I actually wanted, that was when it all changed for me. And the pivotal moment for myself, like I think a lot of women, was having my little boy, Alfie. And taking that time, this is when I had a really good bloody reality check of life and what was going on. And I soon realized that actually what I was doing was what everybody else expected of me, but none of it was what I actually wanted. So I set out to build a business, and it started really, really well. And but I suppose like like a lot of us again, and where that resilience comes in is that we've had some major bumps in the road, right? I went back to work for a little bit, had major issues there, went on the sick for the first time in 20 years, which I would never do. Then my husband got cancer. That was a perfect storm. Since then, he's went on to lose was £72,000 on Michael McIntyre's The Wheel. He's then been made redundant. So I think on this rate, I'm going to be divorcing him soon. But there's always bumps, there's always challenges, and there's always things that come up in life. But what all of this has taught me is that life's too bloody short. It's too short to waste listening to other people, listening to that shitty voice in your head that tells you can't do it, or you just need to learn that next thing, and when you're ready, when things are all aligned. But actually, if I waited for that perfect time, I wouldn't be sat here now. I wouldn't be standing on stages talking in front of people. I wouldn't be presenting in workshops with you guys. I wouldn't have built a business, right? So the key bit is I chose to believe in myself and ignore that voice. And I chose to live my life as the version of me that's already got all of the things that I want. And I want you to imagine like what is possible for you if you just believed in yourself even a smidgen more. And I put all of my energy and all of that into running. Running was what helped us find out that Ant had cancer. And since then, we've both become regular runners and we've ran the Great North Run for charities. So that's why this means a lot to me as well. So this is an overview of the simple framework that we're going to cover. And I will click through very quickly. So the first step is getting a reality check. I know everybody wants something, right? We all want something. We're all striving for that next thing. We've all got a bit of a vision of what that looks like. And I want you to really own that and be brutally honest about what that is, because we can so often just get caught up in the spiral of life and lose our direction a little bit. And we've got to get really brutally honest with ourselves about what it is that we actually want. The second step is unstuck. In the nicest way possible, don't give a shit about what you want, because you're not getting it until you can master the skill of rewiring your brain to behave and think differently. We need to rehearse a new story. If we continue to live in the person that we're in today, and we continue to rehearse the stories that we've got from our childhoods, from our lives growing up, and all those things, we are not going to get where we want to go, because our brains are wired to keep us safe and keep us stuck in the same place. So we need to rehearse that new story. It's the same as anything. Like, you can't come and say, I want to run a marathon, but you're not willing to put your trainers on and actually go outside for a run. It's the same with this. If you want to actually build that life, if you want to get over that self-doubt, if you want more confidence, you've got to take action. We have to do the thing. And lastly, it's about nailing consistency. And this is about getting the right systems in place. It is not about motivation and all that sort of stuff. You just need systems. It is simple as that. And we're going to figure that out today. So the first thing we need to do is a really good reality check. So what do you want? Why are you really building a business? And if you could let go of that negative voice in your head, what would it actually allow you to do? What is it you really, really want? Ask yourself 5 times why. That Simon Sinek bit. What's your why? Ask yourself 5 times why. Why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? But why? But why? Because the more you go down that rabbit hole, the more you get to the root cause of actually what it is you want and why you're actually doing this. So have a think of that and write it down. The key bit is writing it down, where probably don't need to tell you guys that when you actually write something down, you are more likely to achieve it, that goal. So when we start to spiral about something, I want you to remember to run. Reality check is the first part of it. And there's a clear exercise here that I'm gonna talk you through just to help you regulate really quickly. So This is one of my favorite exercises that I use with clients, especially when that negative voice creeps in. You're struggling to see the woods for the trees. Just try this for 5 minutes. We're going to get a piece of paper and we're going to write down stories on one side and facts on the other, okay? So if I use a simple example here of a business owner who maybe wants to increase their prices, right, for something. The stories that might be going round in your head is, but if I increase my prices, nobody will buy it. People will think it's a pile of rubbish. I'm just wasting my time. This person clearly thinks this about is people can't afford that right now. All of those things come through our head, right? But we treat them as facts. But the reality is they are stories we're telling ourselves, right? So we need to think about what have I actually got facts about and what are some of these stories that are going through. And with this, I'm just calling bullshit because you don't know what you don't know. And what we need to do is focus on the facts. So the facts might actually be is I've got an offer. I've got testimonials. I've got a system in place to deliver it. You know, you guys all write amazing books, right? You know how to write. Like I can write. I can write a book. I can write something. People have gave us positive feedback about that before. What are the actual facts you've got about it? This exercise works because it helps us detach from the thoughts and the feelings. So when all those voices and those negative thoughts are kicking off in our heads, telling us like we can't do something, it's just our brains, remember, trying to keep us safe, which is useful at times, but in these instances is very unuseful. And what we need to do is kick our logical brain back on. And that's exactly what this does. You're getting it out your head, you're learning to detach from it, and then you choose to focus on the facts you've got in front of you and get rid of those stories that you're telling yourself. Okay. The second part we're going to go into is unstuck. So we've figured out the stories versus the facts. We've talked a little bit about how that helps us detach from what's going on. So the next part is to get unstuck. This is where we have to rewire your brain to think differently, okay? And the problem is not what you're doing, the problem is what you are thinking. So, like I was saying before, everybody thinks like, I need a better strategy, I need a better offer, I need more time. And you waste probably loads of time upskilling, loads of different workshops, planning stuff in, but then everything gets in the way, right? The real block is actually the story running on repeat in your head. For you guys, like you need to embody this feeling of I am an author, right? I am an author. That is what I am, whether you've produced a book yet or not. You are an author, and that is the mindset that we need to actually get in. What would a really successful author be doing with their day versus what am I wasting time faffing about with? Probably like we all do, right? We all get stuck up in that. The real block is that story that we're running on repeat because subconsciously we are telling ourselves, you're not ready. You can do it when you've got more time. Wait until you've got more information. And that story is the thing that is keeping us stuck in this moment. So what we're going to do is I want you to make a note of this exercise, and after the call, you can spend a little bit of time sort of running through it. The first thing I want you to do is take a big breath, take a deep breath, and just close your eyes for a second if you feel comfortable, okay? And I want you to really picture that version of yourself who has got everything you want, right? You've got the income, you've got the book, you've got the confidence, you've got the business that you've always dreamed of, okay? She has already done it. She is there. She's on top of that mountain, okay? What is she telling herself? How does she show up? What what does she look like? What are the emotions running through? What decisions is she making without hesitating? Okay. These are the questions that we need to think, and we need to start embodying that version of ourselves. So what I want you to do is write some of the things down that come up to you here. Like what feelings are you feeling? What thoughts are coming up for you? What does that woman look like? What does she feel like? And I'm going to share a workbook at the end where it's got a bit of a more in-depth exercise that you can run through with, to get a bit more out of this, okay? But that's just a very basic sort of overview. What we need to do is create an image of that future version, and we're going to write her story down in the present tense, and you are living it now. So you are clearly all amazing at writing, otherwise you wouldn't be working with Angela and trying to write a book and stuff. So I want you to write a little story about that woman, but you're writing it in the present tense. She is doing it now. She is feeling it. Doesn't need to be dead long, just a page, something that is, what is she doing? What is she feeling? What is she wearing? What actions are she taking on a daily basis? And really get that down. And the key bit is your brain works, the way your brain works, it doesn't know the difference between reality and what we repeatedly rehearse, okay? That is neuroplasticity. That is how it all works. So the more you repeat a thought, the more you repeat a story, your brain treats it as fact, right? The problem is we're rehearsing the old story that we've had for years. So we're going to start rehearsing that new one. You need to do that today, not waiting until you're at the top of that mountain, because unfortunately, that mountain is not going to come unless we can master this skill, okay? So write that story down, and I'm going to come on to what we're going to do with that next. So it's all going well thinking about this stuff, right? And having that vision and having that in place. But actually, unless we act as that person and we take steps forward as that person, we are still going to stay stuck. It is a process, okay? So I want you to think about that person who has got everything. She's at the top of that mountain. She's absolutely smashing it. What's the smallest step, next step you could take to get to that? So something you've been avoiding, something that future version of you would absolutely be doing, okay? It could be so simple as the sending that email, the book that call in, the post that idea online, the have a conversation that they've been avoiding, sorry. So something that takes less than 30 minutes, not something that's going to be like, we're going to be spending weeks and weeks on this, just one little thing. Because I'm going to be brutally honest, if you watch this and you do not take any action off it and you leave and you just do the same thing that you've always been doing, nothing's going to change, right? We're going to just keep doing the same things over and over again. And it was interesting. I went to Atomicon yesterday. If you have heard of that big event up in Newcastle. And one of the speakers, she was talking about rejection. And she started doing this thing where basically she went after 100 rejections. She's like, got a poster up on our wall, and it's like, I am going to be rejected 100 times. So she just started asking for things and just started putting things out there and going for it. And she was like, I'm really struggling to fill 100 rejections because people actually keep saying yes. So it's stuff that I don't think I could do. And that voice is kind of trying to keep her small. But what this also does is it gives her a win. So even if she's rejected, it's like, oh yes, I've got a win. I've got another one on me stamp, like on me sticker board or on me wall and stuff. So it's still giving you that element of reward, okay? And I want you just to think for a minute. There's a couple of studies that I've looked into and seen about, how often do we worry, right? And that is a perfect example. We worry that I can't do that because this is going to happen. I can't do that because that person's going to think that. I can't do that because people are going to say no, like they don't think I'm ready. But there's a study that talks that 85% of what we worry about never actually happens. And of the remaining 15%, 79% of people found that they could actually handle that situation better than they thought they could, or they learned something valuable from it. So that means that 97% of what we worry about are essentially harmless or manageable. Like that statistic is just blows my mind. And how much time do we waste worrying about things? It's just crazy, isn't it? So the last thing we're going to get onto is the reality, is not the reality check, the consistency piece, okay? Um, this is why, this is the bit where we do something and we might do it once or twice, or maybe it's for a week. We've all done New Year's resolution, right? We're going to lose 2 stone on a New Year's resolution, and we're 2 weeks in and we've done nothing but eat lettuce, and then we're absolutely starving and we just start self-sabotaging and just eating everything under the sun, right? Um, so what we need to do is, it's not about willpower or motivation or anything like that. It's about getting the right systems in place. If you've read James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, that's a great one. It talks about you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And a lot of the time, how much time do we beat ourselves up, right? Being like, I just need to try harder. I just need to be more disciplined. What's wrong with this? Why can't I just do this thing? And that takes up so much energy, and that takes up so much of our brain space that it just makes things worse, and we just waste time beating ourselves up. But what works is making the behavior so easy, so obvious, and so built into your life that it just happens automatically. So this is what we need to do. We need to build yourself a system, okay? It's the same with this. You might come to this session and you might feel a bit fired up and you're like, yes, I'm going to set this goal. And then you don't do anything about it, right? So we need to set a system in place to make sure that you actually do it and start building momentum for you. We build a system that works even when you don't feel like it. 3 things make a habit stick. Make it obvious, make it easy, make it rewarding, right? So if I think of running as myself, right? When I first started running, I started doing Couch to 5K. First one I went on, I went, Jesus Christ, this is horrendous. What am I doing, right? But now it's a habit. It is part of my life. I do it. I do it without even thinking. But I've got to that point by doing this. So I make it obvious. I get my gym stuff out. I plan it in for the week. I know when I'm going. I get my gym stuff out the night before, so it's ready. So I get up. It's there. It's obvious. It's like, oh yeah, you're going for a run. I make it easy. I plan it around my life, what times, what days work best. So for me, drop my little boy off at nursery, going for a run straight from there. I'm already outside. There's a nice track next to the nursery. I don't need to think about, oh, well, where am I going to go and all that sort of stuff. And make it rewarding. I'm like, well, I know once I've done it, I've done it. I'm going to go home. I'm going to get a cup of tea. I'm going to get a shower, and I'm going to be energized for the day. So when we think about the exercise we've done that you're going to do after the workshop is creating that new story. So I've asked you to write a story out, what that is. Now, what I want you to think about is, how do you make it obvious? How do you make it easy? How do you make it rewarding? So for me, that might be, I'm going to write the story out. I'm going to pop it next to my bed on my bedside table. So every morning when I wake up, it's the first thing I see, and I'm going to make it rewarding. I'm going to tell myself, right, when you wake up in the morning, I'm going to read the story through. I'm going to talk it out, whatever it is. And then once I've done it, then I can go and have a cup of tea, because I always look forward to my cup of tea in the morning. That's your reward. And once you start doing the process, it then quite easily becomes a habit, because we're teaching your brain that, oh, you get up, you do that thing, you feel a little bit better, you get to sit and have your morning cup of tea, job's are good and sorted, okay? It is simple as that, but we often just, we might write something down and have all good intentions, but then we'll pop it in a book and we'll put the book in the cupboard and we'll hide it out the way. And then a couple of months later, we'll get it back out and we're like, oh, yeah, I was going to do that, wasn't I? And we'll just get caught up in that spiral. So remember to run. So if you keep that, if you are in a situation where you start spiraling, those negative thoughts come in, you're feeling a bit unsure about what to do next and how to actually get moving forward, just think, I just need to run, right? I'm going to take 5 minutes. I'm going to have a think, what's my reality check? I'm going to do that little exercise. I'm going to get unstuck. I'm going to read my story through. I'm going to write one thing that I can do in the next 10 minutes just to get me moving. And I'm going to think about getting the habits and processes in place to make sure that I keep doing this, okay? This is all about expanding your mindset to think far beyond today, right? Okay. You get to start acting and behaving like the version of you that has already got all of those things that you want. So when I think about, clients, here's a quick example of one of my clients, Ali, like she come to me last September time, um, and she was in the process of starting a business, and it was like relaunching a business that she already had. She'd completely burnt out and she'd just stopped everything. She was very worried about burning out again. She needed systems and processes, and she knew she needed to fix her mindset and she needed the support to get her moving. This woman is like blows my mind. She has gone from ultimately half a business that she wasn't really doing anything about. Since then, since September, she's ended up building three arms to her business. She has got a team of seven. She has, talking to her a couple of weeks ago, she's just hit a 55K a month. I'm like, you are crazy, woman. Like, because she has got the support she knew she needed. We kept the accountability on. We got processes, we got systems in place for her to make sure that she did this stuff, but she did it in a way that worked for her. She's got her downtime. She's got the space she needs. She's doing everything that works for her. This is not a one size fits all. Everybody is very individual and everybody needs different things. And I want you to really think about that as you move forward. So I have just popped my QR code there on the screen, and if I can get this, I will also pop it in the chat. Um, that is a link to my free workbook, which is called Stuck to Started. And it's got a lot of questions in there. It's got some exercises in there to really help you go a little bit deeper with all of this sort of stuff. So feel free to do that and you can follow along. There's my Instagram handle at Expansions Coaching that you will see on there. So please follow along, get in touch with me, drop me a message. If you want, I'll do a free 30-minute discovery call. If you want to have a chat about what might work for you and what support you think you need, let's have a conversation. You can find all the information out on Instagram or on the website. Oh, Angela, you're on mute. We'll love a bit of tech.
Wow. Kirsty, thank you so much. Genius. It's simple but genius. Absolutely genius. Do you know, I've been working with visualization for, well, 40 years, like literally 40 years. But it's something that unless you're focused on doing it regularly
Yeah,
and sitting down and actually deciding that, right, what's the story now? Because things change as we move
yeah.
along, don't they? It's yeah, but the whole run is just genius. And yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. I've I've scanned the QR and I've taken out, so I've got the code. So
Yeah.
I'll make sure we put that in the show notes for everybody to see afterwards. Um, I'm just so grateful that you've come along and given up your time today to talk to my community of authors and healers. But Caroline, do you have any questions, my lovely?
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Kirsty. That was so interesting. And for somebody that would rather definitely have a cup of tea than go out running, I actually see the point of run. It's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I wondered if you have advice for people who are a bit like me and have full of very creative, busy all the time, either with clients or with projects or with promoting something or with something that's happening next year or writing and working with Angela, which is just glorious. And I recommend it to everybody. To find the ways or a system that allows for the real creative flow, but also making a plan, like a media plan or how you're going to schedule everything.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that can feel a little overwhelming. I'm sure I'm not the only person who feels that.
Yeah, it can be, can't it? Like you do have especially as women, I think we have so many tabs open in my head all of the time because let's face it, it's not just business, right? It's home life, it's kids, it's family, it's the house, it's food shopping, it's cooking, it's all of that sort of stuff takes up so much space as well, and it can become so difficult. Now, what I would say is there's tools I use with clients, um, but it's very individual, and I've got different clients who work very differently. I think the key bit is always having that focus of like what is the end goal. It's managing your time and energy and reflecting on for you personally, what does good look like? Like, what makes you feel good? Even if you have to sit for a few weeks and reflect each day on like what went really well, what did I struggle with? I really wanted to get into a creative flow, but I just couldn't do it. Like, even as women, especially like perimenopause and menopause and all that sort of stuff, like tracking your hormones and stuff as well, and really figuring out what is the best time for you. There's so many tools and there's so much of advice I can give you of going like, go and do this, go and do that, go and do the other. But it might not work for you. The first step is to really understand yourself. So I think spend a few weeks, really track what went well, what happened that day, what didn't go so well, what really was going on. And that is your basis and that is your starting point to go, right, what system do I need to put in place to make that work? That day I had a great day. What happened that day? Oh, actually, I went out for a walk this morning for half an hour. Did that have an impact? Actually, I'm going to try that tomorrow and see what the rest of the day looks like. As simple as that, then you can start building a structure that works for you and a system that works for you.
Thank you, Kirsty, very much.
You're welcome.
And if you hold on afterwards, Caroline, I can give you some other ideas as well. So
Okay, is that everything? Do you need anything else from
I
me?
I think so. I just want to encourage everybody to get in touch with you, to follow you, to download your workbook, to get for you to be in their world, because everybody needs a Kirsty to give them a kick at the backside.
Yes. We all do, don't we? Because I think we so often get stuck in our heads, and sometimes having somebody that can just see things a little bit objectively can be
Yeah,
such a
yeah,
massive help. You can't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Brilliant. Thank you so much, my darling. I really, really appreciate you.
No worries.
And
Thank you very much for having me.
thanks. Take care now.
Okay. Bye.
Hello. Thanks for watching. Sign up for more on Cariad Spiritual by scanning the QR code here, and check out the show notes for access to our incredible experts. And don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye.